Okay, so in Ein Aleph Amud Aleph, about 7 lines down in the wide lines, but the two dots are basically Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Achigna Mishal Avam Mishal Imai. Okay, the Mishnah said that Ben Sura to be chayiv, the Tanakama held that he has to steal from his father. This Rabbi Yehuda says he has to steal from his father and his mother. What does this mean? Frak the Gemara. How can you say he has to steal from his mother? Imay Manala. How do you know his Imanala? How do you know this? Masha Kansi. I'm sorry, Imay Manala. How does she have money that he could steal from her? Masha Kansi Yisha Kanabaila. Allah is what a woman is kind or her husband is kind of. Rabbi Chanina says, it doesn't mean you steal from the mother herself. You steal from the Suda that was prepared. He goes into their kitchen or the dining room, and the meal is laid out with basar and yayin, and he goes and he steals a piece of steak, and he steals
his food anyway.
The parents' food.
It's not his food anyway. As a kid,
No, you're not allowed to take your parents' food. Parents let you. Parents let you. That's why you can take it. It's not yours. Right? So he steals from the suit that's prepared for his father and his mother, and that's prepared for both of them. That's what the Mishnah means. That's what Rabbi Yehuda means when he says that you steal from your father and your mother. Frak the Gemara, how can you say that that's the case? Amar Rab Chanan Bar Mulda, Amar Rav Huna, we already had this a few blot ago. Rab Chanan Bar Mulda said the name Rav Huna, Eine Chayiv Chiyikna Basar Bazel. He's not Chayiv until he buys meat cheaply, and he eats, but he drinks wine cheaply, and he drinks it. I'm sorry, he buys meat for cheap and eats it, or he buys wine for cheap and he drinks it. Why? But chat? No, because if you take something, if you get used to having a delicacy that's very expensive, you're not going to keep on doing it. You're not going to have enough money. You're not going to be able to. It's not a sustainable habit, right? Just like we said yesterday, like a drug addiction, right? So if you won't be able to do it, he won't be able to do it. He won't become
steal.
Yeah, so it has to be that he steals money, and when he steals the money, he buys cheap meat and cheap wine. Right. So now, if that's the case, we just said he steals from the suda that's prepared, the supper that's prepared for his father and his mother. That can't be. He said you have to steal money and use that to buy meat and buy wine for cheap. Ela Mar says, you're right. Don't say it's from the suda itself. You say midmei suda mechanes lavul imai. Say that his father put down $50 to pay the Uber Eats guy, or in a restaurant he put down $50 to pay the Uber Eats guy for their meat, for their food, and that was going to be for his father and his mother. And he stole the $50 and 50 thing and went to the co-op and bought himself some meat and wine. That's going to be the case where he's stealing from his father and his mother, but he's not stealing the food, he's stealing the money, and therefore he'll be chayiv. That's the case, he's chayiv according to Rabbi Yehuda and the Mishnah. Yivay Seima, if you want, you could say another teretz. It's not that it was the money that was prepared for the food for the father and the mother, but the mother has other ways of getting food, getting things that belong to her herself. The akni la achar, a third party was makna to her money, and he gave it to her. He said to her, "Al menashe in the balach rishos pen, that your husband doesn't have any rishos in it. That's why it's only hers. In such a case, it's not his at all, and it's only hers. And the son went and stole from the father and from the mother, and therefore and that's the case where he'll be chayiv."
Is there a case where he can tell her, you might have go to you and
yes, there is such a case. Yes.
That also works.
That should work. So why doesn't it say this? I don't know why that Gemara doesn't say that teretz over here. It's I hear the kasha. Okay, Zak the Mishnah, Masnisen.
I think that'll be more common than the last case.
The whole point is that most women don't want to not get their ma'aseh, don't want to have to be dependent on their own ma'aseh dayim, because they'd rather have the security of knowing their husband will always provide it. The case of Tima Yadayim Zanasaichi is a case. It's a case where the woman makes so much money that it's kedai for her to keep the money that she makes, even if she'll be at risk of not working later on. For whatever reason, because she makes enough money that makes it worthwhile. It's like today you have situations like that. I mean, I don't think we need this. It's not a normal situation. You need to do it, but you have a lot of times a guy's sitting in Kaila for 5-10 years. He's making whatever she was paying $1,000 a month now for Kaila, right? She's a doctor, a PA, or whatever, and she's making a decent living, right? So that will be that kind. That's the kind of scenario where she would say, "Why do I want my mezainis? I'd rather have my mesiyadayim, which is going to be a lot more than my mezainis cost." Right? Okay. Zakt mishnah vayter. Mastise. Let's say the father doesn't want. The father wants to take the kid to Bezdin, Ben Sarah Meira, and the mother doesn't want, or the father doesn't want and the mother does want. He doesn't become Ben Sarah Meira, and Shishneim writes him. So both parents agree. What? Yeah. Yeah. Yehuda says, Yehuda says, if the father and the mother wasn't appropriate for the father, the Mishnah doesn't explain, then the kid doesn't become Ben Sarah. Track the Gemara. What's going on up here? Gemara. What does it mean that the mother is not roy to the father? If you say why she's not right, because they were usher to be married. The guy was muzana with his sister, okay, and they had a baby. Now this baby is Ben Sarah Meira, right? The Gemara safe avu ninu ninu. The father's the father, the mother's the mother. Why the pasuk doesn't say they have to be married? It says v'Yisrael say avu v'imai, right? The avu v'imai doesn't say they have to be related to each other. They just have to be his parents. The Gemara says, Ella b'shavev la'aviv ka'amar. The Gemara is saying it means that they have to be similar to each other. The Gemara is going to say later on that the husband and the wife have to be similar in voice and in appearance. And
they weren't married.
What?
They weren't married.
But still, if they're similar and their parents, they just have to be similar to each other. In that's why it says Ru'uya, that they have to be appropriate for each other. They have to be a match for each other. And three things the Mishnah says. The Rashi says.
Hakol, man, is difficult than Elisha.
What? So I saw somewhere. I don't remember where I saw it. Maybe it's Mefurish, or maybe I saw it somewhere. That the whole reason for Ben Sarah Meira, we have Mandarma that says Ben Sarah Meira is Nivra, right? It's a Josh V'Kavaschar. It's going to be on actually today's daf. I think it's today. I think it's today actually. And there's a mandamru. I think I saw somewhere in a parish somewhere that said that this is the pshat because you see it has to be so because a man's voice is deep and a woman's voice is high pitched, right? So they can never be the same. So the Torah essentially is saying you can't have a situation where you're going to have a Ben Sarah Meira. And that's why it's Josh V'Kabel Schar.
That's not what
What?
That voice is my voice is your voice.
I understand, but you never had a case. I don't know if your wife has any siblings. You never had your wife. You called the house and your sister-in-law was over and she picked up the phone and you thought it was your wife for a second. You don't have to answer that. But I've certainly had that. Because my wife's sister is a person.
Well, sounds like that when I was younger. Always all the time.
And my father was a Rav, and I had people call up and say Rabbi Gluck, and no, I'm his teenage son. So you could have people's voices sound the same and voices sound different, and I can tell you that generally speaking, they don't sound the same, right?
But my point is the same tone of voice, the same. Yeah.
And what does it mean, Bimara, that they look the same? What does that mean? They're both dark, they're both light, they both have the same facial structure. What does that mean? It's probably the kind of thing that you know when you see it, right? The last one is easy. The Kaima is the height. That's easy. You can tell if they're the same height. That's easy. The other two are pretty fuzzy, if you will. Anyway, so the Gemara says that this is what it means, the Shavalav Kamer, that the wife has to be the same as the husband, or similar to the husband. Tanya Namihach, you learn like this also in a Brisa. It says, Rabbi Yehuda says, if the mother wasn't the same as the father in the sound of her voice, the way she looks, and in her height, he doesn't become an Sarah. My time, why? The Amakra, Pasuk says, he doesn't listen in our voice, right? In our voice is Lashon. It sounds like one voice from both of them, right? It should have said B'koiloi Seinu if it was two voices.
The only thing that doesn't make sense. They have to have a different voice. He's together in the same team trying to get the phone.
Yeah. That's one way to learn it, and that's what we said before.
He said
they have to be
that
both
the
Ritzah. But he's saying that the pasuk, by not saying B'kol Loisein, which grammatically would mean our voices, but says B'kol Leinu, our voice, is saying that our voice has to sound the same. And now the Gemara says, since the voice has to be the same, so we were saying, I guess, misvara, that the height and the appearance and the height also have to be looking the same. Okay, so we're never going to say that a man and a woman look exactly the same. You're never going to say two people look exactly the same unless they're twins, right? But still, you have people who look similar and who don't look similar. And I would guess that if the Besdin was Danny goes and say Ramayra, they would look at the appearance and say, do these look similar or not? And sometimes it's not even a shaila, right? My daughter is like 5'2" maybe, and my son-in-law is like 6 feet. They're not the same height, right? But sometimes you might have a guy who's 5'4" and his wife is 5'3.5" or 5'4.5", right? So maybe that's the same. Maybe that's similar enough. That's going to look and have to decide if it looks the same. And the same case, well, we don't do b'dei nefashis anyway. Do we paskin like this in the? If we did do b'dei nefashis, all I can tell you, I didn't look in the halach, but I can tell you is that usually if you paskin like it, then there's a little ice from the Ein Mishpat Ner Mitzvah next to it, and over here I don't see that. So that's a little bit circumstantial evidence that we don't paskin like this. Okay, Gemara says, Kiman. Sorry, I skipped a line or two. Here, Kiman Asla Hadatani Ben Sarah Mar Lahav La Asaliyas. According to who does the Brisa go that says Ben Sarah Mira Lahav La Asaliyas? Never was and never will be. And this is part of the Brisa. Why was it written down? Rosh v'kavaschar. It's the darshan of Psukim, and darshan what the Torah says, and v'kavaschar for learning. You don't have to learn, and maybe it's the lesson. You don't have to learn for practice. What?
Can you say this by
No, the Gemara's going to say about a few more things right now, right here, right now.
It's interesting. The idea of capture to Besamara.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Why? Because they marry
right.
They have been ceremony.
Right. So there's a lesson there, right? Right. But the point of the Torah is saying is that if you a person is married, what do you call it? Yifas Tayar, right? It's not good for chinuch.
Yeah, but it's not almost from because why they married Yifas Tayar, it's not never going to happen.
So according to that man's Yammer, maybe he doesn't darshan like that, right? But now I remember who said that thing I just said to you before. It's the Bach. Mary says, "Come on, Rabbi Yehuda." Who is that like? It's like Rabbi Yehuda who said they have to be exactly the same. Look in the Bach, Ois Aleph. Come on, Rabbi Yehuda. Nechta b'tzidei. It was written on the side of the Bach's Gemara. Mishim desfirlei, because Rabbi Yehuda holds that Tzrichin li Shavim b'kol. They have to have the same voice. Imkein bal karchach oisheyesh la kol kish oisheyesh la kol kisha. Either she has a voice like a man, or he has a voice like a woman. The reitzarach li is avi meshavim, because they have to be the same. Imkein oihu saris. Oh, it's a step further than what I remembered. Imkein oihu saris oihi islandess. Huh? That's exactly his point. Therefore, he's a saris or she's an islandess. The kol humin simanim. Kol is one of the simanim of whether a person's like a man or a lady. The imkeni efshali is ben saramara. They can't have ben saramara because, like you said, they can't have a kid. That was the vart. Okay, so that's the bach. Okay. So where it says, Ibay Seima Rab Shimoni. If you want, you could say that the Tana of this Brisa that said Lahav La Asadiyas is not Rabbi Yehuda, it's Rab Shimon. The Tanya we learned in the Brisa. I'm Rab Shimon. Rab Shimon says, this guy ate a tartimar of meat and he drank half a lug of Yitalki wine of Ima Metzina. He said, his father and mother were taking him out to the cycle, not Bezdin. It's asking Kasha what his parents are so upset with their kid that he takes a little wine and takes a little meat. They're going to go give him the fourth degree. What's it called? And then they go right away and take him to the lecture chair. That's how we say it today, right? That doesn't make any sense. right? Really, it didn't happen, and won't happen, and why was it written in the Torah? To darshan and kavaskar. Is it the bigger mitzvah? Same mitzvah. Of course, you learn to kavaskar. We learned it in.
Never gonna apply.
We learned that we say in Elul Dvarim, right? And one is Talmud Torah. It doesn't say which Talmud Torah, but saying the Torah, the Rebbeinu Shalom, it's like the pasuk that they say in Uvalatzion, Hashem chafetz l'lantzit v'yaglo Torah, right? That Hashem wanted to. Yeah, I think it's that passage, but I think we learn in that passage that Hashem gave Klal Yisrael mitzvahs, so Torah and mitzvahs, so that they can get schar. This is also one of them. Okay? And even if you hold, and besides that, there's a lot of lessons to learn out from the Ben Sera Meir. Even if you hold that it's Lehev Le'Nivra, there's a lot of lessons to learn. Exactly. Amar Rabbi Yonasan. So it sounds like according to Rabbi Shimon and according to Rabbi Yehuda, there's never Ben Sera Meir. Amar Rabbi Yonasan. Rabbi Yonasan says, Ani Re'isiv, I saw Ben Sera Meir, v'yashavti al kivray, and I sat on his kever. In other words, that there really was, and I saw it with my own two eyes. K'man Azla Hadatanya.
What do
you mean?
I sat on his kever.
No, he's
going like the other man there. Right? But did he say it on the... No, he saw it. He was there. He's not going for it. He's disagreeing with that on the other. K'man Azla Hadatanya Yerni Dachas Lahosim La'asid Elias. Same thing that we said before. Brisa says, Yerni Dachas, where the whole town went and started serving Avodah Zarah, they were convinced to serve Avodah Zarah. There's a Brisa that says, it didn't happen and won't happen. Why was it written? You should darshan and kavaskar. The Gemara says, who is it? It's like Rabbi Eliezer. The Tanya we learned in the Brisa. Rabbi Eliezer says, a city that has even one mezuzah in it doesn't become an area dachas. Why? My time. Why? Amar Prat the pasuk says, you take all the possessions of that city and you put it into the center of the town square. You burn it in fire. And since there's mezuzah there, you can't burn it. Except the pasuk says, you shouldn't do this to Hashem your God. And that's talking about being meichik to Shem Hashem. So it can't be there can't be and there never will be, what do you call it? And this, by the way, you find even Friday Yidden sometimes have mezuzahs, right? So right? So this is the same culture. He's saying there can't be such a thing as a city in Eretz Yisrael that there's no mezuzah in it. Yeah. Right. So he's saying there can't be that there is a city in Eretz Yisrael that have no mezuzah in it, and therefore there can't be near any of that. Zakti Gemara, Amar Rabbi Yonasan said, Ani re'esiyah yashavti al tila. I saw near Nidachas, and I sat on the big mound of rubble that was left after they destroyed the city. Kaman Azla Hadatanya, like who does it go the following brisa? Base Amenuga, Lehoyev La'asalias. Taras.
Take out the mezuzah and destroy it.
You can't, because you have to destroy everything in the city. So you can't do everything.
Take this off.
You can't, because that's everything. The mezuzah is part of everything. You have to destroy everything, and you can't destroy everything. So he says the whole thing doesn't apply because it can't happen. Okay, the Gemara says, like who does it go? The Bryce that says, a house that has taras. You have a whole parsha of taras habayis, that nega taras that comes in the house. You have to knock it down, and the man has to look at it, a whole procedure. Never happened, never will happen. And why was it written? To darshan it and doing kavaskar. You know who? Kaman Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon. It's going like Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon. Tonight we learned it in my Brisa and the Mishnah. Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon. Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon says, "La'olam in abayis tamei, the bias that has taras and it can't become tamei, anche yirukishtei grisen, until you see a shear of taras like 2 grisen. A grisen is like a certain type of bean. It was a certain measurement of the area. I'll stay up on him. You have like 2 grisen on 2 stones. B'shtei ksalim on 2 walls, the Karen Zavis, and the two walls are meeting their corners. And in one dimension, it's 2 grisin long, like this, and then, but it's only 1 gris tall. So it's like this, on a corner, in the corner of the room, on 2 different stones. How can that, what's that scenario? That's a scenario where you could have Tzuras Abayis. In fact, we might have it Rav Elazar Rav Shimon. What's the reason of Rav Elazar Rav Shimon? It's a very weird scenario. So look, Ksiv it says Kir, but Ksiv Kirais. It says in one pasuk it says the wall of the house, and one says the walls plural of the house. Ras Hanega, the Kohen sees the Nega Minei Nega, but Kirais Habayis. He sees it in the walls plural of the house. And then it says Omarein Shaflim Min Hakir, and it looks sunken in from the wall, singular. So what's the case of wall and walls? It's one wall that looks like it's one that's like sort of looks like 2, which is 2 walls that meet in a corner. That's the Karen Zavis. However, is that Karen Zavis? So that's the scenario, and you need to have the shear by each one. And then Rashi says that the I think there's a pasuk that Lashon Rabim that the Cholzu Es Ha'avanim. It says this Lashon stone, not the Cholzu Es Even, the Cholzu Es Ha'avanim, but the stones plural. So you need to have 2, and you need to have the shear in each one. So that's the scenario. That, and it's such an unlikely scenario, that's who it makes sense to say is the Mandam who says that Bais HaManuga is Lahayim B'Yasalias. Tanya, we learned in a Bais. Amar Rav Elazar Rav Tzaddik says, Malkam Haya B'Tchum Aza. There was a place in the Tchum of Aza. Aza is in the news these days, right? The last year and a half, right? Well, you carry a Churva Sagirta, and they would call it the Churva, the destruction of the Sagirta is a Mitzera. Is the Targum is Mitzera Sagirta, it's locked up, right? So they called it the Churva Sagirta. This was the destruction of the Mitzera house, the Tzeras house. So he said that there was a house, a Mitzera house in Aza. So it wasn't Lohayav Loyasaf Dias. Rav Shimon Ish Karak, Rav Shimon from Karak said, I once went to Gulliver, I found the place where they had marked the area, and they said you cannot go and walk over it or spread something over it because then you'll be in an oyel with stones from the Bayis HaManuga. Because they went and when they knocked down a house that was Mitzvah, they put the rocks over there. So you have 2 Mandiyam who said that could happen. The difference between these Mandiyam and Rabbi Yonasan is Rabbi Yonasan said he saw the actual things, right? He saw the Ben Sarah and then he sat on his kever, or he saw the Amir Nidachas, and then he went and he sat on the mound, right? Over here it's just saying they saw, there was a place that they would call that, or they saw it, right? They didn't actually see the thing. Okay, let's see some learn the Mishnah. Let's say the father or the mother was Gideon, had his hand cut off or her hand cut off, a Chiger had a foot cut off, a lame, a Elaim was mute, couldn't talk, a Suma or blind, a Cherish or deaf. Their kid does not become Ben Sarah Marish. Never like Pasuk says, his father and his mother grab him. They grab him, that means they have to have hands. Like Gidman, so they can't be with a cut off hand. They take him out, so they can't be lame, because otherwise they can't walk. The Amru, when they say B'nai Muzah, so Dwayomim means they're not mute. They have to be able to talk. B'nai Muzah, our son, and they're pointing. They're pointing. B'nai Muzah, they say B'nai Muzah. Remember the pasuk by Azashur says Zek Keli Van Veyu, and Chazal say it was like they pointed, they were able to see the Shechina, right? So B'nai Muzeh, they're saying this is our son, and says Ben Sarah Mara. V'leisuman, so it means not blind. He doesn't listen to our voice. That means that the parents are not deaf. Really, Rashi explains the parents are not deaf because otherwise they could tell the guy, the kid, and they won't know if he's saying back to them, no, I'm not doing it. That's not Shemaya, it's not hearing. Right? Rashi, and I know I'm right. Rashi says, yeah, they can communicate very well. But we're talking about hearing, because Rashi says, what do you mean? Just look later on. You see, he went and they said, don't steal, and he went and he stole. Rashi says that's not in a Shemay B'Kalei. You have to be able to certify. He says, do this, and he said, no, I'm not listening. So that's like Christian, they can't be that. What they do is they warn him in front of three. Rashi explains this is not a hasra like you Adam warn a person who's about to do it there, don't do it. It's because the pasuk says Yisrael, so they should warn him, right? So Yisrael means more like they should push him to the right direction. That's what Masra means. So they give him a strong front three people, a real serious warning. Malkanai saying they give him Malchus. Rashi says that we said before, that you give Malchus in the first Mishnah in Sanhedrin in front of three, best of three. But if he went and he did it again, Nidin best Mishloisha, he goes to best of 23 to be Nidin for death. Then in this glad Shushim Shloisha Rishonim, Shenemar Beninu Zeu Shalaka B'fneichem. It doesn't get skila unless those three people who are there by the warning are also part of the bezdin. Because when it says b'nei mizeh, it's mashma that it's the one that we were speaking about before that got Malchus in front of you guys, or some of you guys. That's the one we're talking about. So therefore, those three have to be on. And like I think I'm not sure if this is exactly what you're saying it to me before or not, but it's like. The odds of this working out 100% are really, really low. Right? Talk to Gemara. You'll hear from here that you need a pasuk. You need to do the pasuk like it's written. If you remember, way back when, about Daf Mem Hey, Rashi brings down. We had a machlekes by a person gets killed. He's getting skila. It says that the Edom come, Yada Edom Tia by Berishina. The hand of the Edom should be on the guy first. And we said the Edom go and push him off the cliff, right? Right? So what if the Edom has a hand cut off? So it's a machlokes. One says, when the pasuk says Yada Edom, this is Shmuel. Shmuel over there held that when it says Yada Edom Tia by Berishina, the pasuk means that literally the Edom have to use their hand and push him off, and if he doesn't have a hand, the guy doesn't get misa. No, it doesn't have a hand, right? And the other one there says no, it means push him off, right? So it doesn't have a hand, give him a zetz, right? And the Gemara brings a whole bunch of different machlokes in this sugya. So in fact, the Gemara, from here we see it has to be hands, they have to be able to see, they have to be able to hear, they have to be able to walk. All these things means that you see that Gina and Krak the pasuk, when it says something, it means it literally, and you have to do it exactly right. Gemara says, no, you have it right from here. But the Shani Hacha here is different. The Kulei Krayiseru. This entire pasuk is extra. It could have skipped this entire pasuk, and we wouldn't have needed anything there. It could have said, Rashi brings down, it could have said, Vaitzeisim Oisei Ashara Ir, Ahu. They take him out to that city, and our pasuk says, and they say, V'safsu Oisei, and they say, B'nei Muzesar, all that whole thing. But it could have just skipped that whole thing and says, they take him out to the Shara. It was Skalton, and Bezdin goes and gives him a skila. Why did that happen? So all these things are specific ribuyim that you have to do like this, and like this, and like this, and like this. Okay. Back to Gemara. Sorry, Dr. Gemara, right in the Mishnah. Masran b'fnei shleisha. You give him a warning in front of three. Why do you need to have three? You can have enough with two. No, these are Edom. These are Edom that they. Rashi says that you need Edom that you did the Yisroi site, right? So that's the Gemara's question. Why do you need three? You only need two. So the Gemara says, Amrabaya Hachkav. That's what it's saying. You give him Hasra. You warn him in front of two, and you give him Malchus in front of three, because you need three people to do Malchus. Practically, Malchus ben Sarah Meir whoever mentioned Malchus ben Sarah Meir? It's a chiddush nas. So the Gemara says, it's like Ravo. Ravo says, but manu v'yisru v'yisru. We learn out v'yisru from v'yisru mi ben, and we learn it from v'yisru from ben, uben mi ben. We learn a ben from ben. V'hayim bin ha'koysa Rasha. What's going on over here? So the Gemara says, the Gemara is basically making a sort of like a triple drasha over here. And it goes like this. By Mitzvah Shemra it says, V'yisru Oisai, and Ben Sura Meir it says, V'yisru. So we learn out from Mitzvah Shemra that Mitzvah Shemra is like Ben Sura Meir. And then by Ben Sura Meir it says Ben, Beneinu Zeh. And we learn from Ben, and it says by Malchus Vayim bin HaKoysa Rasha. So we learn it from Yisru, and then by the second Yisru Ben Sarah has passes Ben. We learn that from bin HaKoysa Rasha that links it to Malchus. So Mitzvah Shemra is linked to Ben Sarah Meira is linked to Malchus. That's how we know that Ben Sarah Meira gets Malchus. So the truth is that Rabbi Bo is talking about Mitzvah Shemra. We're really coming in halfway into Rabbi Bo, where he starts talking about Ben Sarah Meira, right? So, but the first part of the Josh of Yisru that we really didn't need for our sugya over here. Okay, the Gemara says then, so he did Tefasra, if he went back and he did bad, he did this again, then he gets Bezdin of 23. The Gemara, and how do we know this? Because it says B'neinu Zeh, and we says that Zeh Shalaku B'fnechem, that it's mashma this one here that you already saw in front of you, three who gave him Malchus. The Gemara, Hi B'neinu. I'm sorry, you need this already. You need this to say it's this guy that they can point to, and the parents are not blind. Mar says, "Im kain lichtav b'neinu hu." The pasuk said, "He is our son." And if you say he is our son, it's mashma this guy who we already brought to you and got Malchus. So my b'neinu zeh. What's b'neinu zeh? Zeh is mashma, like we said before, that you're pointing to somebody, right? You're demonstrating, you're singling out this person visually. Mar says Shema min hatarti. So if you learn from that, both things, both that it has to be the parents have to be able to see, and that they have to have those 3 dayanim or they're to do the Malchus, but also they're to do the Nisa. Okay, Zak the Mishnah Masnisen. Barach actually nimmer dinai. Achach hikav zakim tachten pater. What happened? They brought the Ben Sarah Meira, the parents brought Ben Sarah Meira into Bezdin, and they start deliberating the case. And there's that small window of a couple of months of time that he's the right age. And then, before they finish deliberating, pulled the runner, he ran away, and now he's gone, right? And now, he's out of the age thing, and now they found him again, right? Malach is pater, he's pater. He gets a scot-free. But if after he ran away, so they had a Gemar din, they said he's chayiv, they're going to put him to death, and he managed to sneak away, he ran away, he booked, and he's gone, and then then he got too old, then in that case chayiv, he's going to be chayiv even though he's 25 now, or however old he is now. Zak the Gemara, Amar Rav Chanina. Rav Chanina says, "Ben noyach shebirch Hashem v'akach neskayer pater, hoil v'neshtana dinoi v'neshtanis." It says on the side v'sasai. Before we get into the case over here, let's just we were talking about Ben Sarah Meira. Now we're starting talking about a guy who was Megayer. What's going on over here? Ben Sarah Meira changed his status from a status of X to a status of Y, and the Mishnah said that he's going to be, in certain cases he'll be pater, certain cases he'll be chayiv, right? So now we're going to talk about somebody else who did a meira when he was one status, and then it became a different status. Is he pater or chayiv? And the case that the Gemara is bringing is a guy. A guy was Mevarach Hashem. A guy is Mevarach Hashem is chayiv Nisa.
It's a different person.
What? V'achkach neskayer, then it was neskayer. Pater. He's pater.
It's a new person.
The word doesn't say that that's the reason why he's pater, because the katan shenola dami is not saying that it's really like saying like his relationships don't matter, but his actions are still actions. Do you say that a guy who did a contract when he was a guy, then the next day was Megayer, right? The other person or him doesn't have to keep to the clause of the contract. I think it will be a number pasha to say that he's still chayiv, right? So over here also, when he did the aveira, he should get punished on it even after he became a yid, right? I'll give you an easier case for you to understand.
Jim has been Noach. He was going to do it anyway.
I'll give you an easier case to understand. I think that you'll be massive in this case. This is the Baruch Hashem is a sort of abstract situation. Joe Shmo, the guy, went and killed Ruvain, right? The yid, right? And he's like, oh my goodness, Bezdin's going to find me, they're going to catch me, they're going to kill me. I had a great idea. I'm going to run to the town where they don't know me, and I'll go be Mugayer, and then when they finally catch me, say, hey, I'm cutting Chanel dummy, I'm not high anymore. Does that make any sense? He killed somebody.
If you age him, the guy is much easier.
And we're going to talk about this. What you're saying, yes. So this is the case. Okay. Amr Reb Chanina says, "B'noich shebirchas Hashem, b'noich was mevarach Hashem, b'achach nisgayer, and afterwards he was nisgayer. Pater, he's going to be pater. Before he got punished, pater will be pater. Because his din changed and his misa changed. His din changed, like you said a second ago, Rabbi Yitzi, that it used to be he could have a din with one aid and one dayan without hasra, and he would be chayiv. And now he's a yid, he needs to have hasra. He needs to not retroactively, but if he would do that aveira now, he would need to have hasra. He need to have two aidim. He didn't have a bezdin of 23, right? And v'nishtanas misasai, his misa changed also, because the heads of Ben Noach get killed. We had earlier in the Masechta, unless certain exceptions, a Ben Noach will always get saif, will get herek. And now, if when he's a yid, if he would do Mevarach Hashem, what misa would he get? He would get schila. So his din changed, and since his din changed and his misa changed, so he wasn't chayiv the current misa, and it's not chayiv to be. His judgment wouldn't happen under a bezdin of one aid, one dayan, and no asra. So right now, as a yid, he'll be pater. Name him let's say a raya to Rab Chanina. From where? From our Mishnah. The Ben Serameir ran away before his Gemar din happened. And then he has Hikav Zakan Atachtain, so now he is not, he wouldn't be in the parsha Ben Serameir anymore. Pater is pater. My time, or why? Isn't it because... Now, this case is before he's convicted. Yes. This is the first. This is Baruch Achlein Mergin. This is the first case in the Mishnah. Mishnah said both cases.
Yeah.
What was that? That's the second case. The second case is V'mishanig Mergin and Baruch. Right now we're saying the case of Baruch Achlein Mergin. He ran away before the Mardin, and then he aged out of it. So the halach is he's pater. My time, or why? Isn't it because we would say, since he changed, and since he changed, he's not going to be chayiv the same einish, and therefore that's why he'll be pater, and it's a right Rab Chanina for the case of the guy who was Megayer, where it says no. Shani hachad yavad hashkala braktalu. Now it's different. Now it's a real change. Why? Because as a yid, as a gadol, past Tikkun V'Tachtain, let's say he steals from his parents. Is he Chayim Misa? No way, right? The person who steals is not Chayim Misa. Probably a lot less stealing if people were Chayim Misa when they stole, but the Rein Shalom in his wisdom. What?
The collection of what you think is doing together is doing kindness. Those different actions.
Right, but if he steals from his father wine and meat and all that, he does the exact same thing except he's a couple of months older. He's not going to get Misa. So since he doesn't get Misa, that's who he's pater. But in the case of Rab Chanina, we could say, look, if you would do this now, if he's Mevarach as Hashem now, he's still going to get Misa. So just like before he got Misa, now he should also get Misa, because if he doesn't now, he'll also be Chayiv. So we shouldn't pater him, and we should give him skila if he doesn't now. Skila on what he did before. So the Gemara says you have no raya to Rav Chanina from that. Tashma, the Gemara says I'll bring a raya from the end of the Mishnah. It says Im Yishanim Mardina Barach. If after the Gemara didn't happen, so now he already had the psak, doesn't say he's chayiv, they're about to give him skila, and he ran away. The Achkach Hikav Zakan Atachtan is able to stay away long enough that he became too old. What's the halacha? The Mishnah said chayiv, he's chayiv. So now what do we see? That even though he did change, because before he was young enough and now he's old enough, still he's going to be chayiv. So you see, when a person changes, they stay chayiv. And if anything, it's a kasha on Reb Chanina. It's not a riot to Reb Chanina anymore. From the Sefer Mishnah, they have a kasha on Reb Chanina who says that by a guy, even the ishtani. So here you see that he does not change. Even he'll stay chayiv. Where it says loi, where it says Nigmar Dina Kamra, tell me a case of Nigmar Dina? No, it's totally not the same. Nigmar Dina Gavra Ktilu. If he's a Gmar Din, then he's a dead man walking. Right? Once he's a Gmar Din, the halachas of Mitzvah the halachas of Mitzvah don't apply anymore. The fact that he's Nigmar Zachan Atachman is not material. It's not relevant. Right? The guy's dead. The guy's dead. Best finds him 10 years later, they're going to kill him because he's dead. Okay, Zakmar Vaiker. Gemara says, I'll bring you another raya. Tashma, I'll bring you a raya. Ben Noach Shikas Chaveroi, a Ben Noach who killed his friend. It says hit, means killed his friend. Now look, killed. It means he killed, yeah. And or Ubal Shis Chaveroi, or he was Mizana with his friend's wife. Both these cases, two different cases. One or the other. Both of these are capital crimes for a guy, right? What do you ask me?
Lashon Uba means it's one nice over here.
No, but it's not. You'll see soon that it's not. Okay, it means either or. Been this Gayer, and now he's Begayer. Allah is Pater. The Bryce says he's Pater. However, also can be Israel. He killed a Yid, or he was Mizana with an Isha Sish of a Yid, right? From a Yiddish lady. Been this Gayer, and then he was Begayer. Chayiv is Chayiv. In fact, the Gemara, according to Reb Chanina, who says that if he changed, he's going to be Pater, in the Seifa, name Ahil Vishtani Ishtani. Since he changed. Just like if he was B'varach Es Hashem when he was a guy, and now he's Begayer, he's going to be Pater. So he was Mazana with this Yiddish lady, or he killed the Yid, he should be Pater once he's Begayer. Where it says no. Ishtani Dina Umi Sasei. You need to have his din change. In other words, by a guy, he had a din with one aid and one dain and no asra. Umi Sasei. In the death that the einish that he would get, that has to be changed also. The high in this guy, Dina Yishtani, his din changed because now that he's a yid, there's a whole set 23 dayanim and 2 eidim and asra and everything. But Misasei lo Yishtani, his misa didn't change. In fact, the Gemara, wait a second. Don't tell me so quickly his misa didn't change. Bishleim wrote Sayach, Mei Kara Sayach, Ashna Sayach. Wrote Sayach before, excuse me, before he was, as a guy standard misa by a guy, Yisayif, he gets hereg. So before he gets hereg, and now as a yid also, a yid who kills somebody, he gets hereg. So it's the same din, same misa. But that's only good by the case of Nikas Chaveri. But Elav Eishas Ish, but the Eishas Ish, Me'ikara Sayif, if he goes and is Mizana with Eishas Ish as a guy, he gets Sayif, like all the misas of a guy. The Hashta Chenek. But now, as a yid is Mizana with an Eishas Ish, gets Chenek. So you could say Ishtani Dina, but I'm sorry, you could say Lo Ishtani Dina, his din did not change. I'm sorry, Ishtani Dina, his din changed. I'm sorry, but it says, suppose this din and his misa changed. You wanted to say before that this halach was different because his misa didn't change. But no, his misa changed also. So if Reb Chanina is correct, then in the case of, you're right in the case of Yuka, when he killed somebody, it'll be pater. But in the case where it's Mizana, that his misa stays the same, and therefore he should be chayiv even though he's a yid now. The Gemara says, no, I'll tell you the case. Binar Hamarasa. The misa is the same also. Because we said before that in the case of Nar Marasa, since Goyim don't kill somebody for Nara Marasa, so that in a situation where the guy is Mizana with the Nara Marasa, he's going to get the Dina Yisrael. He's going to get the Dinim of Yidden.
Not a guy.
Therefore, he gets Skila then. And now if he's Megayer and becomes Yidden's Mizana with the Nara Marasa, he's also going to get Skila because the Yidden's Mizana with the Nara Marasa gets Skila. So therefore, it's the same Misa. The Din different, but the Misa is the same. In fact, the Gemara, but us can be Yisrael, Dumi Deish's Chavera Katani. When it says Asa can be Yisrael, the second case of the Brisa, it says that if he was Mizana with a Yid, with a guy, and then he was Megayer, he's better. He was Mizana with a Yid, and then he was Megayer, then he's going to be Chayav. Right? So now, it makes sense to say that the two cases of Znus are the same. If you're saying by the guy he was Mizana with the Nara Marasa gets Skila, oh, that's what I'm saying. By the case of a guy, we said that we said before, 20 blad ago or so, that Goyim have the Isser of Ulas Baal. They'll punish somebody where she's fully married, she has to be up, but not if she's Nesuah V'Lo Nivla. Hashenkin by Yidin, even if she's Nisas V'Lo Nivelas, it's the same thing, she's considered married, right? So Rashi explains that when it says by Yisrael, it says, let me just read the words. And then it says that the Niskayr Potter, Asa can't be Yisrael. He did the same thing by a Yid, then he's going to be Chayav. Now, Eishes Chavera by a guy has to be Bulas Baal. Right? Because otherwise, by a guy, he wouldn't be Chayav Nisa. So it must be by a Bulas Baal, that she's Nivala. If that's the case, by a Yid, it's also talking about a Bulas Baal. That means she can't be an Nara Marasa, because Nara Marasa is before Bia. So how can you say that the case by Yid is Nara Marasa? Ella, the Gemara says it, Svara, new Svara here. Kala b'chamura meshach shaycha. The lesser Nisa is shayach, is sort of subsumed, it's swallowed up into the bigger Nisa. So since if a guy who's Mizana, he's going to get by a guy who's Mizana, he's going to get Sayif, and now he gets Chenek. That's considered, since he would be getting a lesser Misa as a Yid, that's considered part of the bigger Misa. So it's not considered a different Misa, even though it is a different Misa, because it's less. If it was going the other way, then it would be more. Then it would not be included, and that would be considered a different Misa. But since it's a lesser Misa, it's considered the same, and therefore it's not considered that it's a full Shina of both Din and the Misa. So the Gemara says, this whole thing is good. According to Rabbanan, who say Saif is more Chamer than Chenek. El Rab Shimon, we had a Rab Shimon, the beginning of, the second or third paragraph, that said, Chenek Chamer, that Chenek is more Chamer, right? We said that the Rabbanan said that the order is Skila, Shreifa, Heret, Chenek, and Rab Shimon said Shreifa, Skila, Chenek, Heret. That Chenek is more Chamer than Heret. What are you going to say? Because you can't say this Heret of the Kala is in the Chamura. And for the Gemara, Rab Shimon said, Rab Shimon holds, this is a Chazar for us, Rab Shimon holds like in Tanat B'Nei Menashe, the Amar Kol Misa Amur L'Vnei Noach Ein El Chenek. He says that all Misas that were said by B'nei Noach were Chenek. So the guy started off by getting Chenek and he'll continue by getting Chenek. Because by Eishes Ish, what? Eishes Ish may Kara Chenek, Vashta Chenek. By Eishes Ish would be Chenek before and now it's Chenek. Okay? I think we have to stop now. But Mitzvah Hashem will pick it up on Sunday.